Good afternoon. It is 1:31 p.m. on Sunday, February 10th, 2019. I'm Christiana Ellis and I slept in. This is 5 more minutes. Continuing to fail to adjust to the local time zone here, but I'm working on it and not making much progress. Anyway, today is Sunday, which means that it is time for my rewatch of Gravity Falls with Season 1, Episode 14, Bottomless Pit. This is, if you do not recall, it's a clip show style episode. No, actually, I take it back. It's not a clip show because it's not clips of old episodes. Instead, it is just a mini anthology, is what I mean to say. So it is, each of the, characters telling their own little miniature story to fill the time with a framing device of them all falling down a bottomless pit. And honestly, bottomless pits are kind of one of my favorite sort of sci-fi, creepy sorts of ideas like that. I don't know, I dig them. I enjoy thinking about bottomless pits, and given that you need a resolution, the idea that they just fly right back out the top at the end that's a pretty good one. It's simple, and I love the added detail from Dipper that no time has passed, is what he says, which is it's contradicted a little bit by Stan falling back in there and not popping back up right away, but I don't know. For all we know, they're in a parallel dimension now. Anyway, bottomless pits are fun. It gives us the classic cartoon concept of, or gag, I guess, the classic cartoon gag of falling so long that you can't just keep screaming that long. So you're doing the falling, but then you literally get bored screaming because you're falling for so long. It's a good bit, and I like Seuss just saying, "Hey, anyone want to scream some more? No, all right." So all of that is just silly, right? There's not a lot to it, but it's fun. And I like the bookending setup and payoff where they're all throwing stuff in there. Dipper doesn't actually throw anything in, I don't think. But, Grunkle Stan, of course, is throwing in suggestion comment cards. That seems reasonable. Seuss throws in his own shoes because he doesn't understand that the concept that they're supposed to be throwing in things they don't want anymore. And then, of course, Mabel's mystery box is a funny joke up front, and then they bring it around again. It's like, oh yeah, that was the tooth inside, and then Dipper complaining is like, why did you tell that story, Mabel? We all know it. We're already in the story. We just lived that story. That's some fun stuff. It's all pretty silly. There's not a lot of weight to it, but it's fun stuff. So let's talk a little bit about each of the three stories. The first one, voiceover from Dipper, is a little bit of a retread of the Dipper versus Manliness story in the sense that it's mostly about he's worried about how often his voice breaks. And so he is determined to get a better voice. But when he does, it's, I guess it's not really the same story. But, once he gets it, people just sort of irrationally hate it. And I think that that story doesn't really pay off quite so much why it's a horrible curse. They basically just make people arbitrarily not like it. Although it is kind of funny, the idea that if someone would be permanently stuck with, a radio announcer voice would be kind of funny, actually. And I feel like to really develop that idea, you would need to spend a little bit more time with it, to give more examples of times where it would be inappropriate to speak that way. Like if he's unable to whisper in the library or something like that, instead of just having people just not like it. But it's fine. It's still fun to watch Zipper walking around and talking like this. It's pretty good. So then, of course, Seuss's story is a fun twist on the getting sucked inside the video game concept with it being pinball. Yeah, that's some fun. It gives us some great visuals. It gives us a fun bit with Seuss is in love with the pinball wench, the little fancy lady inside this Western themed pinball, and just repeatedly forgetting, oh yeah, she's just a little piece of cardboard or plastic or whatever. Now I'm suddenly thinking about like what those little things in pinball machines would be made of. Probably plastic. I mean, depends on how old the pinball machine is, I suppose. Might be a sticker on a metal piece if it's meant to be interacted with by the ball. Who knows? Anyway, so there's again not a whole lot of weight to any of, or depth to any of the stories there, because each one of them is really only meant to be one act of a half-hour series. But it's got great visuals in it, and I like just the inversion of kind of the classic bit of getting sucked inside a video game, but it's pinball instead. And then, of course, we get Grunkle Stan telling his story about winning the football bowl, and it's just I like a lot of things about it. One, of course, is it's just like him getting, he gets to do the touchdown. All the football players are saying they're really proud of him that he taught them a lesson, and then he gets the girl. There's the jet fighters flying overhead, and then of course he adds the talking robot for the kids, and that's all very silly. But I think my favorite part of the episode, actually, other than just thinking about the concept of the bottomless pit, is the bit at the beginning of Toothache, or Truthache, I think it was. Truthache, yeah. Where Stan is trying to teach the bear to drive. That's just so silly. And it's so fun watching the bear in the driver's side of the car. And then he's chewing on the seatbelt, but it's actually also still driving. That's just another fun image that I like thinking about. Seeing iBear to drive him to the hospital is what he tells the police. And of course, then the story moves from there. Mabel's worried about Stan lies all the time, and she, lying is always bad. And this is a topic that I think comes up in a lot of kids' cartoons because, of course, lessons about lying is something that is going to be a perennial topic for kids, because you have, once kids start getting old enough that they recognize that they can lie, and they start realizing that sometimes adults might lie to them, and the idea of lying is bad, but is it always bad? And if not, in what circumstances might it be not bad? And so, it's good material to cover. Although in this case, the ultimate resolution of the reason it's the greater good at the end is mostly just because otherwise Stan might actually go to prison for all of the crimes he is actually doing. So we can understand why she wouldn't want him to, but it's not really the greater good. It's still pretty selfish just on her and Dipper and Stan's part. So, yeah. It's all fun, though. And this is a silly episode, and I like thinking about bottomless pits. And so that's what we've got in this episode. And so I'm going to go ahead and leave it there, and I will talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes.